Hi, welcome to another endorsement interview with the Times Editorial Board. Today we have two candidates for Porter County Commissioner in the 2nd District, the center of the county. We have Sylvia Graham and Jeff Good. Welcome. Also in the room, I guess I should introduce myself, Doug Ross, editorial page editor. Also in the room we have Krista Zvanovic, assistant managing editor. We have John Scheibel, the Porter County editor. Bob Heiss, the editor, Deb Anselm, the general manager, and of course on the other side of the lens as always we have Brian Vernellis, our videographer. We should probably begin with just a short take on who you are and why you're running for office, what your qualifications are. Jeff, let's begin with you.
My name is Jeff Good, 53 years old. Graduated from Morgan Township High School, went there all my life, all 12 years. Then I went off to college and graduated from Purdue University in restaurant hotel management, and started my own company 20 years ago, Good Hospitality Services, which is located in Valparaiso, Indiana, which I am owner and president of. And we manage 25 hotels in 5 states and are currently under development on 3 hotels. And part of the responsibilities there is we have our own construction company, we have our own accounting department, we have our own property management division, we do our own consulting for the hotel industry on a national basis. So it's pretty much a full service shop for hospitality. And I have 2 daughters, Abby, which is a sophomore at St. Mary's College, and I have another daughter, Danielle, who was married this past summer and lives in Chicago.
Okay. Sylvia?
Well, many years ago, my husband and I, newlyweds, moved to Valparaiso, Porter County, because we heard there was great schools here. We have 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren. I'm a retired family nurse practitioner, as well as a professional bass fisherman. I was a 4-H leader for 11 years. And presently I'm in my 2nd term on the Porter County Council. I've served on many boards. Presently I'm on the Northern Indiana Transportation District Board, as well as Emergency Management Agency, as well as Porter County Aging and Community Services. I love Porter County, and I'm very excited to be in this position to be the person who makes decisions.
Okay. Well, the first thing everybody's talking about is jobs. So we have the Jobs Cabinet that came up with this report, and of course there are other ideas that might be implemented. You know, what would you do about all of this, Sylvia?
Well, first of all, the council has not heard the Jobs Cabinet. And the president, both terms that I've served in, have not called upon that. I can't really fully answer about it because I haven't heard the presentation, as you well know. Anything that will help create jobs, I'm in favor of. I was a great supporter with the Porter Hospital project. I'm so happy to hear that our cities are expanding with their manufacturing. Portage has just come in with 3 new companies, and Valparaiso, of course, has Pratt Industries coming, so I'm very excited about that. Anytime the Raise the Barn project has come before the council, I voted for it every time.
Okay. Jeff?
Well, the Jobs Cabinet report that was commissioned by the commissioners, I sat on the cabinet as a member of the RDA, Regional Development Authority. We were asked to be a participant in the Jobs Cabinet, so I have seen the report, and we're hoping that it somehow gets put forward. My contention when the draft was represented, it was always a working document. I always felt that it was in flux. I never felt that it was a final report. To me, it was a report that, again, needed discussion, which is something that I don't feel we have enough of in Porter County. I think that there's a lot of initiatives in there that I think are positive. I think they're good starting points to start discussion. But I'd like to see that report put forward and put in a fashion where we can start working on coming together to see what we can do. But it's a starting point. I think that's what it was always intended to be. As far as job creation on the Regional Development Authority, which I've served 3.5 years now on, I'm the chairman of the Economic Development Working Group. I was involved in the discussions with Pratt Industry. I was involved in discussions with a lot of the companies that the RDA has assisted the Porter County companies with in coming here. And so I'm quite familiar with a lot of the initiatives that go on in bringing companies to Porter County. I'm also very familiar with working with the IEDC, which is the state branch, which has an involvement in trying to lure manufacturers and companies to Indiana as well too. I've also done a lot of heavy lifting on the RDA with the Economic Development Working Group and helping bring companies to Lake County too, which has been a positive force as well.
Okay. One of the things you just alluded to in both of your answers was that the commissioners and the council have been at odds on some things over the past several years. What would you do to work on that relationship? Jeff?
Okay. Well, I think that what I've learned on being on the RDA, which is a 7-member board, which has people represented from North Lake County communities as well as Porter County communities, is that you always don't get what you want. And I think that you have to work together to try and collaborate and have open dialogue on what the issues are that really need to happen. And from what I've seen, sitting back and watching and reading the papers, is that there's not much dialogue. And I think any of the dialogue that is taking place in a back smoke-filled room. And I think that those type of issues need to come out into the front room. They need to be public. They need to be open, honest. And I think that until we can start doing that, that's how you build trust. That's how you build relationship. We were talking earlier before this started about the Valparaiso. There's a perfect example of a community coming together, working together, talking together, and coming together for the good of a community. And why we can't do that at the county level of government is beyond me.
Okay, Sylvia?
Well, quite truthfully, my council time that I've spent, I'm in my 6th year now. I have not shared this animosity that seems to be somehow in the papers and everything. Where I'm coming from, I work very well with the commissioners. I've always had a very good rapport and understanding. Maybe my past health career has helped me in that with communication. But I can honestly say that I think I have a very good working relationship with the council as well as commissioners. And I would like to keep that. I will keep the communication line open and build synergy to move Porter County forward.
Okay. One of the things that's been talked about as a need for Porter County is somebody to control human resources, to handle that function for the employees. What do you think, Sylvia? I
have never actually worked anywhere where they didn't have a human resources person and department. I think that I am in favor of a human resource department. I think but one thing I will say, I would like to see that department being held outside the administration building so that the employees feel comfortable when they go and visit, that they don't feel any intimidation at all. I think it's a wonderful project, and I know that it's on our docket to be heard, I believe on the 16th, and I'm looking forward to hearing it, and hopefully it will get passed with this budget.
Okay, Jeff?
Well, coming from my background, having an enterprise of 425 employees, I can't for the life of me imagining running an organization without a human resources department. I think it's unconscionable that we're even talking about it this late in the stage that we are. I also feel that We're in, Sylvia and I both right now have put our name on the ballot for the last 7.5 months. We're trying to discuss this issue openly, and we can't even get a report out of the commissioner's office that talks about what is needed in that department. And I think, again, it goes back to the dysfunctionality of county government and how we need to be more open and honest with the information. I've heard all the excuses. I've heard the HIPAA rules. I know the HIPAA rules. That has nothing to do with HIPAA rules. So I just can't quite for the life of me understand why this issue has become such a big, black, dark secret. And here we're in the middle of a campaign and we're trying to push these issues, and we can't even talk about intelligently what's going on up there. So to a certain extent, I'm for it. On the other hand, though, I'm a little disappointed because I feel, and I think maybe Sylvia should feel the same way as well, a little slighted that we don't have that information in front of us to be able to deal with the things and talk about the things at this important part of an election, to get it out in the open and really discuss it and peel the onion back and see what we have.
I've often referred to the County Board of Commissioners as a mayor with 3 heads. So how do you get the other 2 heads to work with you if you're elected, Jeff?
Well, I think it's about building trust and building relationship. And I think it's talking about what you talk about, but then having action following that. And the action has to match up with the words. And I think it's really that simple. And I think until we start doing that, it's, having an enterprise of my size with the amount of, I talk to all of our employees. You have to be open and honest with folks. It's just how it works, and I think that will develop over time. It's not going to happen overnight, especially based on the situation that we're in right now with the level of distrust and mistrust that's so high. But I think it can be done, and I think it's just putting your best foot forward. It's sitting down talking to people. It's looking them in the eye and saying how you feel, not trying to take the political stance of everything, but let's get it all out on the table. And then let's start working from that point forward. And I think it's just really simple communication skills is really all it is.
Okay, Sylvia?
Well, I agree with Jeff that communication skills are vital with this. However, as I've said before, I feel very comfortable in working with the commissioners as well as the council people. I will build on my relationships that I've already have with the commissioners. John Evans and I go way back to when he was working, pushing gurneys in the hospital and doing his job, and I was too. So I've known John for a long time. Same thing with Laura Blaney. I've, through our grandchildren and her kids, I've known well. I feel very comfortable working with them. Nothing is, everything's on the table with me. So I feel like I want to build on that, and I think we can do very well. Porter County has a bright future.
Okay, well, Porter County also has a huge nest egg, meaning the proceeds from the sale of Porter Hospital a number of years ago. What do you think should be done with that money? Sylvia?
I think, and as well everybody probably knows, it's been, I do not know why, but it has taken forever to get this foundation off of the ground. I am very much in favor, and I have always been in favor of putting that money to work for us, for the people of Porter County. That's Porter County's future. It's a way of keeping taxes low. The more we can make off of the investment of that principal, the better we can plan for the entire county to grow. As you know, we have already been giving low interest loans to cities and towns with the interest money, and I think that can only grow and build by getting that money invested as soon as possible.
Okay, Jeff?
Well, first of all, I think it bodes well for Porter County in the future to have this money. It's a security blanket that a lot of the other 91 counties in the state, or maybe it's 90, because there's one in Elkhart that has just got an endowment or something similar to that. But I think we're very fortunate to be in that situation. With regards to the foundation, at this particular point in time, I'm not in favor of the foundation. I have a hard time, again, spending 7.5 months of my life running for office, and the first thing that you do is you turn around and you give the authority and the voting privilege to handle that money to somebody else. I think that's very problematic in my point. And that's what, if that doesn't get passed, which I hope it doesn't, until the election is over and either Sylvia and I are sitting in that seat, I hope that discussion doesn't move forward, because all of a sudden, because of an election, it seems like there's a race to get something done. I think my fear is it will turn into a typical political appointment type situation. We won't have people on there that have the skill sets to deal with that type of money. That is a huge nest egg. That is a big amount of money. And we need to have professional people that are dealing with this every day to protect that nest egg. I just do not see the way that this foundation is going, seeing some of the names that are being bandied around, the skill sets associated with some of these folks. I just don't see this happening. And it's very problematic, and it's very concerning to me, as I know the $160 million to me is not about me. It's about my family's future and my daughters going forward. That's what this is about. It's not about me or what I think should be happening. It's about protecting that for all future kids, the kids that are playing out in Valparaiso. That's what this is about. And knowing the skill sets that I have, I think that we can bring that to the table. I would rather see more of an advisory council that can work up ideas with people with those skill sets in that council to let the commissioners and council vote on those ideas. Sorry.
Oh,
no, it was a little late, a little long.
Not at all. Okay, I've been hogging the questions. Any others?
Well, speaking of the sale of the hospital and the proceeds, what kinds of projects do you envision, that we could use that money for?
Go ahead.
For me? Okay. First of all, I truthfully think that that hospital interest that we will earn off of that principal can be, let me just say this. When I first got into politics, the Porter County population was 163,000. We're pushing 167,000 now. We have actually need to increase our services to the county, to the public, and we have not raised taxes. And we've really done that using some of the interest money, because the departments, as you well know, like the jail, we had to hire 9 new officers, and I truthfully think that we can use that money to help expand services without raising taxes. And also, we could make more small interest loans available to some of the cities and towns that are in the county, and maybe for county-worthy projects to be done.
In answer to your question, John, I think that one of the problems that I'm having with moving forward with the using of the proceeds is right now it's being used as a Band-Aid to fund our budget deficits. And I think until we get until we get the interest money, or we get our operating budget in line, I don't think that the commissioners of the council have any business in spending that money. It's just like any resident that lives in Porter County. And I look at Porter County, the Porter County government is the closest form of government to the people. It's the closest form. And if we expect everybody personally to balance their checkbook every day, why can't we balance our checkbook at a county level? And I think, to me, getting in office, the heavy lifting is going to be getting that budget deficit in line. Let's bring it back into the black. It can be done. I know it can be done. And I think from that point, once you get your budget in line, and those that day-to-day expenses that go in and out every day, they become more of a protocol. They become daily. Now what happens is all the fires that we've had every day for the last 3 years, they go away. Now the focus and everything is much clearer on what we need to do with that money. But I'm for expanding, working with all of our cities and towns on expanding their infrastructure. Let's grow this county, but let's do it properly. Let's do it smart. Let's use that part of that proceeds for maybe some type of bond bank where the communities can go to it, get those low interest loans to go invest in their infrastructure, but let's have an ROI component with it. Let's put that project forward to where the cities and towns have to present us. And this is what we deal with on the RDA, is then what will happen is we'll start seeing better projects coming forward. And I think, because at the end of the day, you don't want to waste that money. You want those cities and towns to return that money back to the county as an annuity, and we keep building on it. But I'm in the development business. I can come up with 100 ideas on what to spend this money with, but it's what the public wants, not me. And so that's sort of my answer to that, John.
May I just say one thing? Just to clarify, the state of Indiana does not allow any county government or anybody presenting budgets to have a deficit. Your budget must be balanced. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. We should.
Before we move on, would you like to respond to that?
Well, then,
in terms of the balanced budget?
Then I'm reading something different in the papers. Then I don't quite understand. I guess we can argue budget deficits, but I know what I've been reading, and I know the revenue that's coming into this county and the expenses that are going out, they don't line up. So I don't know where that falls within state regulatory, but from an accounting function, we're operating in the red.
May I respond to that? Quite truthfully, this is where working with each other back and forth, and where the hospital interest money, not the proceeds, the interest money that we've already earned. When we locked away for 5 years, that proceeds, we've earned that money. And this is how we have been keeping our taxes low by using some of that hospital interest money to balance the budget.
We should probably talk about employee benefits, in particular insurance. What would you do, Sylvia?
Well, first of all, talking just about that, definitely there needs to be some reform. I would definitely want to review and reform the employee health insurance as well as work rules. There's room for improvement, and I want, in all fairness, I do want to say the commissioners have looked at this and have been looking at this yearly, but this needs to be brought into the 21st century, and it needs to be handled. The city of Portage has handled it, the city of Valparaiso has handled it, Chesterton has handled it, the county, it's time for the county to do it too.
Okay.
I've been in business for 20 years. There's one thing that I can tell you we count on every year in May, and that's when our renewals are up for our insurance, and we take it out to bid every year. I grew up, when I first got out of college, I worked with a company that had a self-funded insurance policy, and they're very problematic. We had it for 3 years, and after 3 years we decided that it was not cost effective to do it. When you're sitting in a situation and you're paying claims as they occur, from a cash flow standpoint, it's a juggernaut. It paralyzes any type of cash flow analysis that the county has. So with respect to the commissioners, the council, the auditor, to pay the type of claims out that you pay every month, from a cash flow standpoint, it's very difficult to make sure that your finances are in line. And I think therein lies a lot of the controversy and a lot of the discussions on cost versus whether we have cash to pay things, whether we don't have cash to pay things. Those are constant discussions that are going on every day. One of the commissioners, I think several weeks ago, basically said in defending self-funded, that's the risk that the county takes. My question is, why does the county have to take that risk? We have insurance companies out there that will take that risk. And they're good policies, they're good types of things out there that you can go out to the market and you can find out. And to jump on top of that, with the Affordable Care Act that has gone on, that's been passed nationally, to bid this out yearly, you have to get into it yearly because the policies and the programs that are out there are changing rapidly. I mean rapidly. And so this is something, this is a moving target. This is fluid. It's happening, it's changing monthly, and you have to have somebody out on top again, and oops, there's that HR department again.
Okay, you touched on work rules, but you didn't elaborate. What would you do?
Well, first of all, the commissioners are in charge of setting up an employee handbook, and they review it yearly, but they haven't really made some of the necessary cuts that are going to probably hurt some people. It's going to be a change, and anytime you make a change, it's not comfortable. These employees, the county provides a service. To me, county government is like a service. It isn't so much like a business, but it is a service, and the people that work in there don't always get paid what wages that the business world make. However, we do have to make some changes. There has to be, well, as an example, they get 14 paid holidays. I believe the cities, they maybe give 6. We have to have some hard decision making done, and it has to be, the HR department would be very helpful in that. And like I said before, I'm in favor of it. But, you know, we could sit here and discuss it, and I know that, like on, I believe it's the 23rd, we are going to hear the commissioners present this year's health plan to us, what they're planning to do. So until I really hear that, I'm not going to know how drastic, but they hear the drums in the background. They understand that people are wondering about this, and the people of Porter County have spoken, and there needs to be change, and I'm telling you, when I'm elected, there will be some change, big change.
Okay, Jeff?
Well, I'm glad to hear that we're going to hear about this 2 weeks before the election, but as a side note, I think that there are a lot of changes. I think where you first start is what are comparable counties and comparable units of government, what are they offering to their employees? That's always your benchmark that you start off, and that's pretty simple to get a hold of that information. The other thing that we do in our organization is we have a sheet of paper in everyone's file that has a total benefit and cost of what that employee makes. So if they have a car allowance, if they have insurance, they have their pay, you have to sit down and you have to take a look at each individual employee and what is their total expense or cost to the county, and from a revenue standpoint to them. And I think then what you do is you start matching it up with skill sets. You start matching up with the departments and the units of government they're involved in, and you start taking a methodical approach to how you do this. It's really not that difficult. It will be a lot of work in the front end. We do have a study. Hopefully the study has some recommendations in it also that we can look at, but having not seen that study, I really can't comment on a lot of the details, but it's not that difficult. And you know, I want to see our employees in the county level be rewarded and being compensated for what their fair share and what they do based on their skill sets. I want to see that. I think any employer or unit of government, commissioner, whatever you want to call it, that is always catamount, because at the end of the day, they're your front line, they're your people that are doing that work. They have to be recognized, they have to be rewarded, and that's how you start changing the culture of a county and a county government to make it more service-oriented.
Okay. What's the primary difference between you and your opponent, Sylvia?
Well, he's a man, a young man. Basically, all I know is myself. You know, my adult life has been spent here in Porter County. I love the county. I've worked in the county. I've done volunteer work in the county. I've really feel a huge connection, and I've got public service in my blood, so to speak, and I want to do nothing but the best for the county. I've been known as a hard worker, and I will guarantee that I will do everything I can to make this a better place for our kids and their kids in the future.
Okay, Jeff?
Well, I think for me, it's I've always liked government growing up in high school, in college. It's something that I've always followed wherever I go. It's somewhat of a passion for me. I guess some people golf and some people do other things. Politics to me is something that I enjoy. For me, like Sylvia, it's a way to give back. I mean, I've spent 20 years in my organization building an organization to be able to enjoy the benefits of my life and my family's life. And we've worked very hard to get to a point to where now I can have time to step out and contribute to where I grew up. And with that hospital money sitting there, with some of the things that I'm seeing going on every day in our county government, I just felt that it was time for me to step up and give back and use my skill sets to take this county to the next level. And that's really all I'm doing this for. It's not the paycheck. It's not the benefits. It's not the health insurance. That's not why I'm doing this. And I just want to give back, just as Sylvia has all the years that she's been doing this. It's the same passion I think that we both have. And that's really where I'm coming from on this. It's really that simple for me.
Okay, is there something we didn't ask that we should have? Sylvia?
Well, nothing that I can think of right off this moment, but I do want you to know that I enjoy very much what I'm doing. I put a lot of passion and work into it. I do my homework, and I'm kind of known as that kind of a person. And I do a lot of one-to-one interaction, and I want to see this county grow. It's got a bright future, very bright future, and it's going to do well.
Okay, Jeff?
I think that I know when I got into this race that I knew eventually I would probably be up against Sylvia. I know she is a hard worker, but again, at the end of the day, to me, this is about skill sets and how we move the county forward. And it's really that simple to me. It's nothing more than that.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. This has been another endorsement interview with the Times Editorial Board with Sylvia Graham, Jeff Good. I'm Doug Ross. Thank you for viewing.
Thank you for having us.